This is really awesome to see all of you out here this morning. This is answered prayer. You know, Pastor Ed mentioned that I had some challenges early on, and you know, through Victory Church here, I've grown a lot here at Victory Church. I'm going to share a little bit of my testimony in a minute, and also just our life groups and relationships have really helped me grow right here at Victory Church, and we have an opportunity to continue that growth. Like Pastor Ed said, we all have a role. We all have a role to play as men, as husbands, as fathers, community leaders, business leaders, and you know, I didn't realize all of that. David came to me a little bit earlier today, and he was telling me about, we met a few years ago, he was telling me about all the things that were going on in his life, and right away when he was telling me, like, you know, how tough it was, but now God is using him to help other people, and it reminded me right away that, you know, that hard part, it just popped right in my mind, the hard part was the preparation for purpose. It was the preparation for purpose of me being right here today. And when I was going through some of the things I was going through, you know, I didn't really understand at the time why those things were happening. But I do today, because I know that God has called me to be a man of God, to be a husband, to be a father that he's called me to be. So I want to share a little bit about my journey here. Over the last 20 years, I've been here at Victory Church. And since this is a men's breakfast, I thought it'd be awesome to honor a few of the men that have been instrumental in my life here at Victory Church, and especially through life groups. And two of them are no longer with us. But when I first came to Victory Church over 20 years ago, you know, I had some trust issues, some church hurt, and so I was kind of walking softly when I got here. And the first person that invited me to a life group was Al Neckel, Jason's father. And Al and Mary Neckel invited us to their house for a life group. My wife and I, we went to that life group, and just it was an awesome model to see. You know, a man that was a leader, a good husband, a good father in the church, and it was just something that I admired very much so early on. And I always watched Al after that. I watched how he served in the church, but I also watched how his family flourished as well in the church. And he was an awesome man of God. And Al, thank you. Let's give Al Neckel a hand. Because he was a model. And I feel now, today, because of that, you know, I've learned how to be a better model, be a better man, be a better husband. The second man that was very instrumental in my life was a man by the name of Don Harper. Anybody remember Don Harper?
Yes.
Don Harper, can you give Don Harper a hand, please? Like I said, you know, I came in here with a lot of hurt, and I didn't know there was a life group called Elijah House that helped with generational curses and helped with healing. It was a healing ministry, and I had some healing to do, and Don knew it. And not only did, you know, Don lead that life group, Don and Mary Kay, a lot of people don't know this, Don Harper mentored me for probably a year straight. I would go to meet Don Harper every single week. Once a week, it was like Don Harper was my therapist, you hear me? Don Harper was an awesome man of God. He was an awesome husband, awesome family man, and he was awesome servant here. Two men here at Victory Church that made huge difference in my life. If it had not been for them, I don't know that I would have learned and walked out the way that I did over these next few years. But even after that, you know, I was still struggling, and then God put another man in my life here at Victory Church named John Thomas. And John Thomas asked me to do a men's life group here at Victory. At the time, we didn't have a big focus on it, and the first life group that we did together was called Resolutions for Men. Pastor Ed officiated the ceremony here with me and 4 other men resolved to live our life for the Lord, basically. And that was in 2014. But I was still struggling. I hadn't surrendered. I was saved, but I hadn't surrendered. So the journey from salvation to surrender, it wasn't an overnight thing for me, right? I had a lot of worldly things in life that I was, confused about, and I thought hey, this is what success looked like. But every man a warrior. Where my warrior brothers at? Any warrior brothers in there? Let's give me get a hand for my warrior brothers. Man, I'll tell you what, every man a warrior was transformational in my life. I have a great dad. My dad, Mike House Sr., is here with us tonight. And my dad was a great provider. He was a great leader. We did not go to church on a regular basis. And what every man a warrior did was really help me to see what a godly man looked like, what a godly husband looked like, what a godly businessman looked like. And every man a warrior, there's a few scriptures, but one of a few that I'll share right now briefly, where we would have to memorize the scripture. And how many of you know what you put in eventually comes out. So we were taught to memorize scripture, and the first one was Matthew 22:36 and 37. And it says, "Teacher, which is the greatest commandment in the law?" And Jesus replied, "To love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your mind, and with all your soul. This is the first and the greatest commandment." And I equated that with, how can you love anything like that with all of everything without spending time? You can't love anything without spending time, right? So we started a daily quiet time. And before that, I'd read my little daily bread. How many of y'all read the daily bread? And you get up and you get going, right? You just read your daily bread and you keep it moving. Kind of peripheral. Well, when you have your daily quiet times and you're memorizing the scripture, it gets down in you, right? It gets down in you. And that started to get down in me to conviction. And I still wasn't living a life God had for me to live. And so after a full year of every man a warrior, I got to a place of surrender. I didn't like the man in the mirror. I knew I was living a double life. And 9 years ago today, in February, Pastor Ed, I was right here on this stage, and I shared a lot of my testimony about my past. And it was very, very transformational. There's another scripture in every man a warrior that became very, very instrumental in my life, and that's Joshua 1:8. "Do not let this book of the law depart from your mouth, but meditate on it when? Day and night. Why? So that you may be careful to do everything written in it, and then you shall be prosperous and successful." Obedience is the key to the heart of God. Be careful to do everything written in it. And as I learned what God said about this or that, it was an opportunity for me to surrender even more. And my entire life, for the most part, I had ran after worldly success. The houses, the cars, the stuff, the material things. And on the outside, I was very successful. So most people were looking at me, we become very successful. But none of that ever truly fulfilled me. None of that truly fulfilled me. Like surrendering to God's will for my life and becoming the man that He called me to be. Becoming the husband to my wife that I was supposed to be. Becoming the leader in the community that I was supposed to be. And after I got up here and I got a chance to share my testimony, there's a quote John Maxwell says, "Once you take significance, success will never satisfy." And at that point in my life, I recognized so many other men were watching. People do what people see, guys. That's why this warms my heart to see all of us here today, because we all have a role. We're all leaders. We're leading something, right? And God has called us to be the leaders, the men, the husbands and the fathers in our communities and in our families. And Victory Church is transforming lives. Victory Church is transforming lives here. And we are making a huge impact in our community out here. Because men like me and you and our other warrior brothers in here and other men that are serving in this church, because they're making a difference and other people are watching. The world is watching. The world is watching. So we're going to have a great morning of another speaker. This is a call to action, man. We need a new church building. When I think about what we can do as a group, right? And this next generation is coming behind us. Our kids are coming behind us. They're watching what we do, right? And we need some more facility so that we can serve more people, right? And it starts with what we do every single day. So you have a card on your table there. All of us have a card. We are starting life groups. I'm sorry, I forget which life groups. Pastor Ed, can you look on my little blue note? I forgot to bring up and tell which life groups they are. We have men's life groups. If you've never done Every Man a Warrior, I encourage you highly to do that. But we're having a church alignment life group where we're welcoming our world. And for anybody that wants to be in a men's group, it's number 3, number 12, and number 5, and number 8. We're all called to serve God in one way or another. And we all have gifts, we all have skills, we all have talents. And when we act in obedience and utilize those gifts and skills and talents in our homes first and foremost, in our church, in our community, in our workplace, can you imagine what that would look like if we're all bringing our gifts and our skills and our talents? And we're welcoming our world into an experience with God here at Victory Church. Life groups can change your life, guys. Join a life group. Make sure that you get into a life group. It's transformational. You want to be a part of this transformation. Thank you very much.